Hi, I'm David Magone. So today's practice is one of my favorite practices to do when I don't have a lot of time for an active practice. It's completely passive in nature and is based on some of the theories by a Ukrainian yoga teacher named Andrei Lapa. It's technically called the centripetal star model. Now, it's very effective because you do stretches for your hips, you follow them up with stretches for your shoulders, and ultimately you go for a stretch through your spine. As you repeat that process over and over again, then you're able to get through the majority of your muscle groups in very small amounts of time. So today I will go through the practice with you. We'll be focusing on lots of different options to help you open. I will do my best to call out options that will be appropriate for everybody and modifications when necessary. Now, I always like to start with breathing practices to sort of reconnect to the spiritual aspect of the practice. So, if you will, just take a moment to sit with crossed legs in some comfortable way. Elongate your spine upward, just stretch up to the top of your head. And for the next few moments, focus on your normal inhale and your normal exhale. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. And as you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Now, today I'll have you start with a very basic breathing pattern. Breathe through your nose. Make your inhales as long and as slow as you can. Hold your breath until it becomes slightly uncomfortable. And whenever you exhale, make your exhale as long and as slow as possible. Long inhales, long breath retentions until it becomes slightly uncomfortable, and then long exhales. Repeat that cycle over and over. Every time you hold your breath, let your mind clear. Just allow your thoughts to dissolve into the mind like clouds dissolving into a sky. If you're able to, make your next breath retention a slight bit longer. If you're having a difficult time making your exhales long, constrict the back of your throat so that your breath sounds like Darth Vader. Long inhales, long breath retentions, long exhales. And for now, return to normal breathing patterns and take the next few moments to just center in on your breath again. Whenever your mind wanders somewhere else, notice and then redirect. And then join your hands together in a prayer near your chest. Take a moment to think of someone you'd like to dedicate today's practice to. Send that person some good energy mentally. And when you're ready, then open your eyes. So today we're going to start with the cow face pose. Extend both legs all the way forward. And once you've done that, cross your left knee over top of right. Just place your left foot right outside the knee. I'm going to do my right so it looks like we're doing the same thing. Once you've done that, wrap your right arm around the leg itself. Give it a hug to your chest to stretch your outermost hip. Now, if you have a difficult time coming to the full variation, stay in that posture because it'll give you most of the same benefits as the full posture itself. Now, if you're able to slide your foot further over so that one knee stacks above the other, press your knees a little bit closer together. Draw your other foot back near the side so both heels are back near your buttocks. And then slide your hips over to the right just a little bit so that your hips are square between your heels. Grab a hold of your feet like the handlebars on an old school BMX bike. Rock side to side and anchor your hips to the ground. And then elongate your spine upward by stretching up to the top of your head. Maintain that length at first as you lean forward over the leg beneath. Once you've settled in, slide your shoulders down away from your ears toward your belt. If your ribs are resting on your thigh, you can safely round your spine a little bit. So allow your upper back to round just slightly. And for the next few moments, close your eyes. Find a spot in your hip that feels tense or tight. And just imagine that you could send your inhales and your exhales into that space for a while. Let your breath wash through the points of tension like water flowing through cracks in rocks. And breath by breath, just wash away some of the tension in your hip. When your body naturally loosens up, take up the slack by leaning just a bit deeper into it. Then use your next inhale to sit up. Unfurl your legs completely and slide them directly forward. And the same on the second side. If you're going with the modification, cross your right leg over, place your foot just outside of the knee, and then use your left arm to give the leg a big bear hug squeeze into your chest. You can sort of keep one hand on your elbow if you wish to really squeeze it in, or if you prefer, you can put your hand on the floor for more stability. If you're going for the full option, cross your right knee over top of left and press your knees closer together. Draw your other foot back near your side and pull your feet back just a little tighter so that they're aligned. Shift your buttocks and your whole pelvis over to the left so your hips are aligned right between your feet. Your right sitting bone won't drop down into the floor as much as the left, but just try to press it down until you're relatively even. Sit up a bit taller from there. With a very long spine at first, forward lean over your leg. As you forward lean, sometimes the shoulders bunch up around your ears, which can create neck tension. So slide your shoulders down away from your ears toward your belt. So long as your ribs are contacting your thigh, you can safely round your spine in this one, so feel free to let your head get really, really heavy. As your ribs come down toward the leg, again, close your eyes. Hone in on some specific spot in your hip that feels tense or tight. And just like you did previously, let your breath wind through that space like water flowing through cracks in rocks. The deepest inhales and exhales you can take, but through your nose if possible. If your right hip starts to elevate and lift off the floor, press it down again to anchor the stretch. And let your uppermost torso get really, really heavy as you hold. Oftentimes, one side of the body is tighter than the other, so just compare and contrast this side to the previous side. If you find that you're tighter, you can always double up on the tighter side when you practice on your own. And use your next inhale to sit all the way back up. Unfurl your legs completely. And then this next one will be done on the belly. So go ahead and come back to a four-pointed kneeling position at first. Slide your legs backwards so you can come all the way down to your stomach with your elbows on the floor. Now your legs are simply straight with this. There's nothing special that you need to do with those. What we're really after is the shoulder stretch. So parallel your forearm so that the right forearm becomes parallel with the left. And then sort of lean side to side and progressively begin walking your hands over to the outer edges of the room that you're in. You really want to crisscross your arms like a firefly's wings. If you want less stretch in this posture, lift your chest away from the floor. If you want more stretch in the posture, let your chest drop toward the earth. Level your back with the ceiling until you can stack a glass of organic yogi tea right between your shoulder blades. And then let gravity do the work. Focus on expanding through the shoulders with your inhale. Just send your breath percolating into that space like an expanding balloon. As you exhale, just relax and breathe out every last drop of your air. The inhale is active, and on your exhale, just relax downwards. Keep the back of your neck relatively long and neutral by drawing your chin ever so slightly downwards and towards your chest. There's not a huge difference between your two sides, but there is some. So lift your chest up. Switch your arms positioning so that the left arm goes in front of the right. Walk your arms all the way over to your sides as far as you can. Now take some practice, so just be patient with however far you slide. Then leveling your back with the ceiling again. Let your body's weight sink down toward the arms. If you want less stretch, lift your chest a bit higher. And if you want more stretch, really allow your body's weights to settle down. Slow, even inhales and exhales. Send your breath into a spot that feels tense and just wash away some of the tension there. If possible, make your inhales just a slight bit deeper. And then a stretch for your spine. Walk yourself slowly out of that. Press all the way back up. And then slide your legs straight and roll all the way down your back to lay physically down on the ground. Now, there are many forms of a spinal twist. This one's very effective. Just reach both arms all the way out to your sides with your palms facing up. This will open your chest muscles. Cross your left knee over top of right, just like you did in the cow face pose. Though if it's hard to cross your legs like that, you can keep your knees apart and both feet flat on the floor. Regardless, shift your hips way over to the left. And then slowly drop your knees over to the right. To rotate your neck as well, gaze left, out, and over your outstretched hand. Try to fill your lungs all the way up to the brim with your inhales, feeling your chest expanding. And as you exhale, just sink heavier and heavier down into the mat. And every time you exhale, just do your best to let go and let gravity pull some of the tension out of your musculature. At the same time, try to keep your left shoulder completely anchored to the floor. Use your next inhale to sweep your knees upwards. Center your hips with the midline of your mat and cross your right knee over top of your left knee. Slide your hips way over to the right. Drop your knees over to the left. And to rotate your neck as well, gaze out over your outstretched right arm. Now, your breath profoundly alters the posture, so make sure you breathe deeply on this side as well so you're even and balanced afterward. Send those huge inhales pulsing into your chest. At the same time, try to keep your right shoulder physically anchored to the floor. Few more rounds of deep inhale and exhale. Sweep your knees all the way upward and outward, and center your hips with the midline of your mat. Now, if you like, you can roll over to one side and press up to a seated position. Otherwise, grab your knees and draw your knees toward your chest and rock all the way up to a full seated position. Next, we're going to return to that process of stretching lower body and then shoulders and spine, but we'll do so with different options. So this time around, come all the way over onto your hands and knees, and then lower yourself all the way down onto your hips and belly. So that you're propped upright. Prop yourself up on your elbows for now. This is a quadricep stretch, so slide your legs apart until your legs are a little bit wider than your hips. Though if you're more flexible, you can keep your legs closer together so they're roughly parallel. Bend your right leg. Now at first, reach back and attempt to grab the inside of your foot and draw your heel toward your bum. With some practice, you can put your hand on the top of the foot, and that will give you an additional sort of shelf on which to push. Now, once you've accomplished that, if you want to take it further, rotate your fingertips around so that they face the toes. For the next few moments, just keep all that pressure on your foot. Tuck your tail and breathe deep. This posture is a lot more active, and in case you're wondering, I won't have you hold it as long as those ones done previously. Just a little bit more time on this side. Give it just a slight bit more downward push. Release from there. And when you're ready, same on the other side. Bend your left leg. Reach back and grab the inside of your foot. If you're not able to do that, you could always grab a strap, which is sometimes helpful. And then draw your heel toward your buttocks. What you're looking for is a stretch in the front of your left leg. If you want a lot more stretch, point your elbow up so you can press down on the shelf of the foot itself. Or alternatively, if possible, spin your fingers around toward your toes. Tuck your tail until you feel your buttocks squeezing a little bit. And just keep on pressing down through your foot till you feel a good solid stretch in the mid front of your left leg. And even now, if possible, try to breathe deeply. Give it just a little more downward push and release out of there. Now, this next one is going to open your shoulder and your chest. So reach your right arm all the way out to your side. In this one for today, turn your palm up toward the ceiling so your thumb is facing backward toward your toes and your feet. And place your left hand in a push-up position. Bend your left leg, roll onto the right-hand side of your body, then opening your hip to the edge of your yoga mat, flip your leg all the way over and take your toe closer to the floor. Now, from that position there's oftentimes nothing that can be done to make your head too terribly comfortable. I personally like to look sort of sideways. Other people look down and other people look up. So for you, just find the one that feels the best. Continually rotate onto the side there and stay focused on your breath. It's completely up to you, but if you want to take it further, shift your hips just a little further right. Attempt to bend both legs and point your knees straight upward in the air to the sky. Again, you can look sideways or up, whatever feels the best for now. If that's too much, come back to the previous one. And then for the moment, we're all the way out of there, back down to the floor. Placing your right hand in a push-up position, reach your left arm out to the side. Rotate your thumb backwards so your palm faces up and place the top of your left hand on the ground. So once you've done that, slowly bend your right leg. Open your hip to the side of your yoga mat and use that shift to roll a bunch of weight onto the left-hand side of your body. As you do that, you're going to start to feel quite a lot of stretch in your left front chest. Experiment with your head a little bit. Look up, maybe look down, maybe look sideways until you find the one that feels best for you. And then maintain and breathe into it. You can always reduce the stretch by rolling out of it a little bit. You can also increase by pressing your right knee further over to the side. In a lot of cases, that is a ton of stretch, and you're welcome to stay there. If you do want more, though, you have to shift your hips just a slight bit further left, oftentimes. From there, try to bend your left leg as well, point both knees at the ceiling, and move your knees way over to the right, which will definitely deepen the stretch. Slow inhales and slow exhales. If you've gone too deep, feel free to come back to the previous variation. And then roll down. Once you've done so, come back down to your belly. Press all the way back up to your knees. Roll around to a seated position. Slide both legs completely forward. And then reaching your arms directly ahead, roll all the way down your back to lay down on the ground. Now, this time when you're laying on the floor, we will bend the spine in the bridge posture. So when you're ready for that, roll side to side and squeeze your shoulder blades a little bit closer to your center line, closer to your spine. Walk your heels back and attempt to touch your middle fingers to your heels. Just get as close to that as you're able to. Now today, bend your arms to 90 degrees so that your forearms are vertical and your fingertips face up. Press your elbows down and squeeze your shoulders a little further under. Now for the moment, take attention to your knees. And as you press down through your elbows, slide your knees forward toward the front of your mat until your hips lift completely off of the ground. Pretend you have a yoga block between your thighs. And imagine you could suck that yoga block toward your pelvis by pulling your inner thigh muscles inwards toward your body. Once your legs feel active and engaged, press down to the elbows. Keep the back of your neck straight by looking straight up and just breathe. If you want to go beyond that modified shoulder position, you can always interlace your hands behind your back, right underneath your buttocks, and slide your hands toward your heels until arms straighten. Otherwise, just hang out with me and press your elbows down. And then slowly roll all the way back down to the floor. Give your knees a gentle bear hug squeeze to your chest, and gently rock side to side and back and forth. Now again, you can roll over onto one side and then press up to a seated position. Otherwise, rock all the way up. And we'll move back to one more stretch for the hips and the shoulders and the spine. This one's called the bound angle, Baddha Konasana. Draw your heels toward your innermost thighs. Now, a lot of times there's some more space to be found in there. So plant your hands behind you on the floor and sort of use your fingertips like steeples. And then use your hands to slide your hips closer to your heels. Now, this posture is really dependent on physiology. If your hips are built a certain way, your knees are probably going to be a lot higher, which is totally fine. You just want to feel some stretch in your inner thighs. If your hip joints are positioned a little wider outward, your knees will drop down further. Now lean forward to whatever degree you're able. Press your heels together. And for the next few moments, just continuously press your knees outwards as well as downwards until they come closer to the mat beneath. Once you find the spot where you get some resistance, breathe deeply. At the same time, slide your shoulders away from your ears down toward your belt. Stretch forward as well as outward at the top of your head as well. Just a few more rounds of deep breath. A long spine, stretch out through the top of your head. And then reach forward and grab a hold of your feet. Roll your feet open like the pages of some magazine. Now, if you have any spinal issues or disc problems, it's best for you to sit tall on this one to keep your spine really long. If your spine is healthy and you feel good with it, begin rounding your spine like a cat until your middle back bubbles. Lean forward from your hip joint, curl your chin to your chest, and initially just take your forehead a bit closer to your toes. Now, if you can lean forward more until your forehead comes down to the toes, take it there. At the same time, press outwards as well as down on your knees as you hold. Then use an inhale to sit all the way back up. I'll reposition my body sideways to make it easier for you to see. But when you're ready, straighten out your legs entirely. Now this one goes deep, so just proceed cautiously. Plant your hands on the floor behind you with your fingers facing backwards. If you want less stretch, you can have your hands a little wider like I am. Or if you want a lot more stretch, you can take your hands closer together. For some people, it's even possible to touch the hands. Now initially, bend your elbows a little bit, squeeze your elbows back in together, and then lift up to the walls of your chest. If the arms straighten, they tend to get a little tangly, so at first, just keep a micro bend in your arms and a little bit of a back bend. Next, round your spine. Tuck your ribs down in the front and use your hips to slide your heels, to slide your hips a little closer to your heels. Bend your elbows again. If you like to straighten your legs, straighten them, though you can also keep them bent. With that very slight micro bend in your elbows, squeeze your shoulders back in together and lift upwards to the walls of your chest. Deep, slow inhales and exhales. And now to get out of that one, just walk your hands over to your sideways. Come all the way back up. Once you've done so, straighten both legs entirely. And grab your legs and internally rotate them, just like two logs rolling to the bottom of a canyon. Take a look at your feet and make sure all your toes are pointing straight up at the ceiling. Now press your hip creases down and flex your quadriceps, the muscles in your uppermost legs. Reach out there and grab your shins, or if you can, your ankles, or potentially the tops of your feet. Any of those are great possibilities. Now from that point, lift your collarbone just a little bit taller. As the front of your body gets a little bit longer, that should deepen the stretch a touch. If you want to go a little deeper, start leaning into it just a little bit at a time. And if you find that the bottom rim of your ribs is resting on your legs, then round your spine just a little tiny bit, ever so slightly. Otherwise, keep your spine really long. Now to take it just a little bit deeper, rock your body's weight over to your rights. Pull your left leg backward into its socket until one leg looks shorter than the other one. Do the same on the other side. And then repeat that process a few more times. Forward leaning every single time. Now, if you're sitting up taller with your spine relatively straight, you're getting all the stretch you need, so just stay there. If you want to take it deeper, shake your head yes a couple times to level your face with the ground. Pretend that your face were like a postal stamp and press your face straight down toward the ground. Pull the top of your head toward your toes and breathe as slowly as you can. Big inhales and big exhales as you hold. And for the moment, use an inhale to sit all the way back up. And then just a brief spinal twist to reset your spine. Cross your legs in the front. Take your right hand to your left leg. Place your other hand behind you. Sit up just a little taller. Rotate left and gaze straight back over your shoulder behind. Rotate your torso in the other direction. Left hand comes to right knee. Place your other hand on the floor and rotate right this time. Then releasing your twist, let your hands rest in your lap. Close your eyes for the next few moments and return to your observation of the breath. Feel the length of your spine climbing upward into the sky as your sitting bones roost you into the earth like a tree. For the next few moments, just become very aware of your breathing. Then join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Remember the person you dedicated your practice to. Either pray for or wish for their happiness and their health. Take a moment to be grateful for another day. And if you wish, repeat after me. May all sentient beings everywhere experience peace.